Right, so welcome everybody to the annual general meeting of Africa Eats Limited, which is being held virtually today, 17th of June, 2026 at 9 o'clock Mauritian time.
Any questions?
Yes.
No, well, Luni, do you have a timeline for the Nairobi listing?
Oh God, yes. February 2026 is my timeline.
Okay.
I specifically
You're a
went
little
to
late.
Nairobi and lived there for 2 months to do this, but it didn't happen on my timeline. Didn't happen in
Okay.
March either, or April or May, or it's not going to happen in June.
Okay.
The latest hurdle is threefold. Latest hurdles threefold. One, Nairobi requires 250 shareholders, which is pretty normal. We have 222 shareholders as of today. We're short a few shareholders. We asked them.
I think I got you another one today.
Yeah, hopefully we had another one today, but it still brings us a few short of 250. We did do an analysis and showed that we have 50 something more shareholders today than we had when we listed. We shared that with the CMA, and they said that's sufficient, probably sufficient. They have not given us a written approval on that. Second one is there's a rule about cross listings in Nairobi that you must be listed for 2 years on your home exchange before you can cross list. They only have one cross listing, so just be clear, like they're not like flooded with cross listings. We asked if 18 months would be sufficient. They have verbally told us that that should be fine. So we expect that to be approved. And then the third one is that when you list something in Nairobi, whether by introduction or raising capital, the regulations require an accountant's report, which sounds rather innocuous. I know I have at least one certified accountant on here. An accountant's report is not made by an accountant. It's made by an auditor. In this case, that auditor must be a Kenyan auditor. We are a Mauritian company. We have an audit by a Mauritian firm. So we did ask, is it sufficient that we have an audit from a Mauritian firm? They said, no, that's not sufficient. So we are in the process this week of hiring a Kenyan auditor to provide us with an auditor's report, which will take somewhere between 3 weeks and 3 months. We are pushing to find one that can do it in weeks instead of months. So once we're all through that process, then we believe we have, and there's more, but those are the 3 big hurdles. We believe after all of that, we will have everything sufficient to submit the documents to the CMA. And the last time we submitted something to them, it took them 2.5 months to get back to us. So hopefully they'll get back to us faster than that. So we will be finalizing this somewhere between July and December.
Good. Okay.
I'm hoping it's sooner than
Thank
December.
You. Yeah.
Luni, I just have a question. With regards to the high value companies that you guys are thinking about adding to the portfolio, I know there are certain, in the US, there is SEC restrictions on what you can and can't say, but based on what you can disclose to us at this point, what are your plans in terms of the types of companies that you guys plan to invest in?
Okay, so we are a Mauritian company. We're not American, so the SEC has no say over us. We do follow the rule in America that we don't disclose information privately that we haven't disclosed publicly. But this is the annual general meeting, and you can't get any more public than this. So I can tell you anything. I can answer any question here. This is a public forum. What we announced back in February is that we ran Fledge Africa in Nairobi while I was there. We had 360 applicants. We had 9 companies attend. One of them was Nyata, which we had invested in October, but had never been through Fledge. So now they have. One we kind of threw in at the end, which we haven't heard from since. So probably not in our pipeline anymore. And then of the other 7 that went through the formal process and we invited in, we are currently working with them to build a business plan for each company that doubles, or at least doubles the revenue of each company. And with that comes an ask in terms of capital. And the expectation is on our end, all 7 complete that effort and we add all 7. To see this list of companies, you go to the Fledge website and look up Fledge Africa and it lists those companies. So those are the ones that are in the pipeline or in the funnel to be invested. And then there's one more, which I will be sharing with shareholders, some shareholders tomorrow. In this case, not everyone, but the shareholders that have supported us in the past, because it's a big one. So there is. So I will say here what it is. So Victor is here. Victor Mahango. He sits on our board. He is the co-founder CEO of Soweto in Malawi, and he has another company. It is a rice miller. He started it. It has no other funding besides himself, and some loans from Malawi. Yeah, we like it. We would like to invest in it. We can't afford it at the moment. So we're making I wouldn't even say strategy, a tactic on how to raise capital in the short term to add Victor's other rice miller to make it a BZ, to add it to the Africa Eats portfolio. We already know the founder. We already trust him. We already know he succeeds. He succeeds at what he attempts. And there's a huge opportunity to grab this opportunity in Malawi. So that is on our radar as well. And I'll finish by saying that I have 100 other business plans that have been sent to me in the past, just year. And we look at these every once in a while. We generally don't just get excited about something that comes in cold. We like investing in companies that have been through accelerators, especially our accelerator.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Good question. I like that question. Tom, you have a question for him?
Not at this stage. No, I've read all the materials, and I mean, obviously, I've got lots and lots of questions, but not for this meeting.
Okay, I will answer one you should ask, which is where on earth would we cross list besides Nairobi? So Tom knows African stock exchanges. I went to Kigali and spoke with the CEO of the RSE, the Rwanda Stock Exchange, and a question that we haven't yet answered is, can we cross-list Elite Meat in Rwanda? It's a Rwandan company. Can we find the money that we have yet to find for truck in Rwanda and list the company in Rwanda and Mauritius? And is there money for Africa Eats in Rwanda? It's still an unknown. I need to go back and have more conversations. And then the other one that's similar to that is Uganda. So one reason we're going to Nairobi is a regional capital center for East Africa, the East Africa Federation countries. And so Ugandan institutions will invest in the Nairobi Stock Exchange. But I did talk to 2 brokers in Uganda asking, would we raise more money if we also cross-listed on the USE? And half of the stocks in the USE are cross-listed from Kenya. And the answer there is probably. So next time I am in Nairobi, I'm very likely to pop over to Kampala and prove or disprove the probably. And that next time I'm in Nairobi will be the roadshow for this listing cross listing in Nairobi. And I may do a triangle and stop off in Kigali as well, as long as I'm on the other side of the world. So it could be that we wind up by the end of the year or early next year cross-listed on multiple East African stock exchanges.
I mean, personally, I'm more in favor of less cross listings because you want to try and draw liquidity into one area, but it really depends on what the preference of the capital, the guys providing capital is. But as you say, the East Africans should be, and Nairobi's rejoined the regional linkage, so they should be pushing that regionalization thing. And again, it should be more possible to draw more individual shareholders in through the Tuesday markets, even Kenyans or whatever. If you had a broker that was placing a few, you could maybe draw more through the Tuesday markets into the Mauritian listing as well, because I'm sure the Kenyans are quite happy moving money offshore. I know you're looking at institutions and institutional preferences, but just for your numbers, it'd be interesting to see who could place more shares through Tuesday markets and get your numbers up quickly.
Yeah, thanks for bringing that up. So our experience is that no Kenyan institution has any interest in investing in the stock exchange of Mauritius. We found none. I'm sure there are, but we found none, which is why we're going through this whole effort to be listed in Nairobi, to bring them the same exact stock on their home market instead of our home market. And then in terms of liquidity, we have a superpower that no one else has. So the norm when we talk about cross listings is the same advice Tom just said: don't, because then you have some shares over here and some shares over there, and trading in one market doesn't necessarily move the shares around. Just note, like you all shareholders just approved the ability for all 11.8 million shares to be moved to the Kenyan market. Now, those are your shares. I'm not moving any of my shares, but you are totally allowed to open a brokerage account in Kenya and move your shares from the repository in Mauritius to the repository in Kenya and then trade in Nairobi. I don't think anyone's going to do that except Tuesday markets. So Tuesday markets will take some of its shares that are currently in Mauritius, move them to Nairobi, and sell them to the retail buyers in Nairobi. And if we are also cross-listed on 3 or 4 or hopefully someday 8 other exchanges, then the Tuesday market team will simply move the shares to where they're wanted. And so, and that is it's a paperwork process. There's no fee involved, just time and paperwork. And so we can move that liquidity to where it's needed, as opposed to having it forever distributed across multiple markets. So we're gonna leverage that superpower, which I don't think anyone else is doing, not in Africa. And I have checked that that's doable. Like that's not a theory. At least I'm told that's doable. I haven't done it yet.
Luni, I just have one long shot question. Since you guys have plans to hopefully go on multiple exchanges, do you have plans to go on NYSE or any of the Nasdaq or more global?
I would love to, yes, someday. The reason we listed in Mauritius is a long list of reasons, and on terms of price, it cost us about $100,000 to do that process. Cross-listing in Nairobi, we haven't finished paying the bills yet. It will roughly be the same amount of money, maybe a little less. Listing in New York is at least a $7 million process.
Yeah,
not $700,000, $7 million process. Listing in London, which was on our list of things to do a long time ago, we've taken it off the list. There's no money in London at the moment for Africa. But
Yes.
if we were to list in London, that would still be a £1 or £2 million process. So $2.5 million to $3 million process. So when Africa Eats is worth hundreds of millions of dollars, and when we have a track record that merits raising hundreds of millions of dollars, then it makes sense to come to New York. And unfortunately, until then, there is no economic way to come to New York.
No, that's totally understandable. I've just invested in multiple companies on the NYSE, and so I just thought, do you guys have a pipeline, a thought to do that? But it's good that you do have a thought. That's positive. That means that you hope that the company moves in that direction, which is always positive. So that's good. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. So we are worth like $34 million today, 35. I have to pull up the page. We're worth in the 30s. We were our value of our company was $3 million when we started not quite 6 years ago. We're still a month away from 6 year anniversary. So we're up a little more than 10x in 6 years. So it is feasible. I'm not predicting the future here as a publicly listed CEO. But it is feasible that we could replicate that in 6 years or 7 years or 8 years or 10 years, in which case our value of our company gets to be 300. And it is possible that another 6 to 10 years later, it's 10x bigger again. So it is reasonable that within my lifetime, we are big enough to be a New York Stock Exchange company. That's not a crazy thought. It is a big aspirational goal, but it's not a crazy, unreasonable goal.
Brilliant. Thank you.
Yeah, 40,000 people at our annual meeting is probably a crazy goal while I'm still alive. That's also on my to-do list, but that
If you live to be
that's a huge
95,
aspirational
like
goal.
if you live to be 95, like Warren, you might get there.
He started earlier than I did, so it's only like 30 years from now, and it took him like 60 to get to 40.
Yeah.
And this is not the big meeting. Like the one we do in Nairobi every year is our big meeting. But still, 17, that's our biggest turnout ever. Any other questions today? If not, I will point out
Luni, I've
that
got one quick question. One quick question, Caroline here.
Yes, hi, Caroline.
To the extent that the uptake for the Fledge event is an indicator of pipeline strength, were you disappointed by only having 9?
No, we had 360 to pick from.
So these were the cream of the crop who met all the criteria.
We picked 7 out of the 360, and then someone met me while I was in Nairobi, insisted they get a shot to show up, so we tossed them in. But yeah, 360 in one shot was more than enough. I reviewed them all. I interviewed 40 of them. The team reviewed the 40 of them. Like, that was plenty. We didn't need 1,000.
Right. You wanted to give quality attention to the top few that can actually come in. But
yeah,
what is your sense of the growth
the
of the sector generally?
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
What is your sense of the growth of the sector generally?
Sector as in food and ag and African food and ag?
Yeah, and these kinds of yeah, exactly.
So in general, when you look at that chart that I'm always showing off, right? It was 56 million annual revenue last year, up from 40 something. That is indicative of what we see in these pipeline companies. When we look at our portfolio, one reason why we ran the Fledge program is when we look at the existing portfolio, we have 10 companies that are above $1 million in annual revenue, up from 1 when we incorporated Africa Eats. So we've pulled 9 more into that realm, and the biggest one is 20 million, and I think it was 1.1 million 6 years ago. But then when you look at the next crowd down in the portfolio, there's a few that might be able to do that, but there isn't 10 more. So if we want to replicate that historic growth, we need to bring in new blood. So that's why we ran Fledge. And then when we look at the existing companies and where
and then a function, moving into Francophone Africa more, would that open up that kind of equivalent batch? And I know that you've made connections with Nohemi Mawaka, who seems, she's not involved with the holding company yet, but should be doing a similar kind of growth here.
Given the whole team speaks English and no one on the team speaks French, I don't think we're ready to jump into French-speaking Africa, and I don't think we have a need. Of the 360 applicants, maybe 4 or 5 were Francophone. Mostly because I said in the process, like, you need to speak English. You have to apply in English. I've run programs before where that was not a constraint. In fact, at the Land Accelerator, we purposely sought out Francophone African companies. What's interesting is when you look at when you have 40 companies you've screened and you now are at the stage of saying, okay, which of the 40, one of the criteria is where. So do you want to pick a company in South Sudan, or do you want to pick a company in Kenya? Well, if you're in impact, first, then South Sudan. But if you are trying to do business in the easier place to do business, you pick Kenya. So we didn't pick South Sudan. We didn't pick anyone from Mali or Niger or Burkina Faso where there are coups. We didn't pick anyone from Burundi that's still struggling. The companies in that pipeline are 3 Nigerians, where clearly we need to fill in the gap of Nigeria. It is a humongous market. One Kenyan, 2 Zimbabwe. Zimbabwe seems to be back on its feet. It's not on our map at the moment. And 1 more in Malawi. We love Malawi. It's fast growing. Has some Forex issues, but beyond that, great country to do business. And then that extra we tossed in was Tanzania. I think that was all the countries. So we tend to see the East Africa Federation countries are easy to do business in, relatively speaking, and the opportunity size there is huge. And just in general, there's more mouths to feed every year, and no end to any. No. What I was trying to get to before, when you look at the top 10 BZ and their growth, many of them are telling us, oh well, they're going to double again. Like they're doing 6 million in revenue, and they're like, yeah, we'll get to 20 in the next 3 years. Like that's what they're telling us. Or they're doing 10 million now, and they say then their plan is to get to 30 or 40, like in the next few years. They need capital to do that. We are at that for the bigger ones. We're looking for co-investors instead of trying to raise it all ourselves. But we don't see anything about topping markets. We don't see anything where it looks like companies are done growing in their home countries and can't grow to their neighboring countries. The opportunity size is huge. No change there.
Thank you.
Okay. And if there are anyone else is welcome to ask a question, but if nothing else, I do want to point out that it's still Tuesday where I live, and I don't think the market's quite open yet. Yesterday, I guess Tuesday, the 16th of June, in Mauritius, we closed at an all-time high of $2.94. So now we're, I think, 3 cents under the Q1 reported enterprise value, and we're about a month away from reporting the Q2 enterprise value. So the market's pretty good at keeping up with what we think the value is. And that was just driven by a new shareholder who came in and bought some shares from the market maker at $2.94. That was the asking price. So we are 6 cents away. We're 1 month, we're 6 days more than 1 month away from our 6th anniversary, and we're 6 cents away from a 3x multiple from where we were 6 years ago. So I'm looking forward to doing the blog post that says tripled. I don't know if it'll be in the next month. I don't know if it's going to be in 2 months, but I predict that it will be soon unless something extraordinary happens.
Wow.
So, a 3x return on a venture capital fund in 10 years is considered an extraordinary fund. Top 5%, top 2, 3, 4, 5%. And we will hopefully do that in 6 years, or 6 years in a month, or 6 years and 2 months. So for all those people who think, certainly no one on this call, but for all those people who think AI is the only way to make money, they're wrong. You can make money and solve poverty at the same time.
You are.
Tell your friends.
Thank you all. Thank you all.
Thank you, Luni. Thank you for all your questions, shareholders and everyone present. Are there any other matters anyone would like to bring up now? Any other business?
Thank you, Vera.
If not, then we can close this meeting. Thank you very much, everyone, for attending the annual general meeting of Africa Eats for the year 2026. And thank you for all your support.
See you at the
Thank you,
Q2 earnings
Thanks,
call.
Luni.
I'll
Thanks,
do
Aaron.
I'll do
Thank you.
two Q2 earnings calls to catch everybody in different hours. So look for
Thank
that in
you.
July.
All right.
Yes,
See you
Thank
thank
soon.
you.
you. Cheers.
Thank you,
Bye.
everyone.
Cheers.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Bye-bye.